maybe you wouldn't have reacted that way. Maybe defense counsel wouldn't have reacted that way. But to question whether or not a woman who saw her husband's brains blown out of his head in front of her even loves her husband because of some tone is disgusting.
All right, interesting argument there. Joining me now, criminal defense attorney Joseph Tully. Joseph, great to see you. Thanks for being on the show. And we'll start off, of course, by asking your reaction to this verdict. 2 hours and 38 minutes, guilty of first-degree reckless homicide.
So I think, analytically speaking, scholarly speaking, this was a victory for the defense. I always saw this case as whether or not the defense could get basically an imperfect self-defense decision. In other words, because of the punch in this case, the defendant was not entitled to use self-defense or claim self-defense. However, if the defense attorney could prove that Mr. Edgecomb used self-defense unreasonably, that would at least be a different result than first-degree murder. So, again, it may not feel this way. I think the defense did the best that they could.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think ultimately, in the end, it was a victory for the defense. And I also want to know if you think this may be a direct result of something that we all questioned how it even made its way into this case, this idea that it may have been an accident. We wondered if it maybe was a tactic by the defense to throw it into the mix and throw everything they could at this jury, or perhaps it was something that the defendant decided to freelance on the stand. But your thoughts on the addition of that little crimp in the machine?
Sure. So I've actually argued self-defense and accident at the same time successfully. I don't think that they're mutually exclusive, but you have to come out and be very clear. Look, my client was going to brandish a gun in self-defense, and in the act of brandishing, an accident happened and a shot fired. So the shot wasn't in self-defense. The brandishing was in self-defense, and then an accident happened. That would have had to have been started, that narrative from the very beginning of this case. That did not happen, and that leads me to believe that that is something that Mr. Edgecomb threw out there during his testimony.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%, and that's exactly how I read it. Because if you're going to make that argument, you don't just throw it out there. There is a way to make it, and you said it perfectly. That's exactly what you would argue if you wanted to sort of make both of those. They're not mutually exclusive, but ultimately it ended up in the case, and I think ultimately had, like you said, a positive effect for at least the outcome as far as the defense is concerned. All right, Joseph, stand by. We're going to take a break. Coming up just after this break.